If you're ready to explore the Hebrew roots of your Christian faith, then grab your Bible and let's get started. Shalom. Welcome back to Tuesday night Torah Studies. Looks like we're having a little technical difficulty, so I'm going to try right now while I'm live to connect to Facebook. It's not coming on live there. So if I hear any echo, I'm just going to have to disconnect from Facebook. But could you just hold on for a moment with me while I try to get that connection and see if it's going to work for us? Mm, no, it's not working for me. So if anyone's on Facebook, I want to apologize. You will have to come over to YouTube and watch it live. I will eventually put a link in Facebook so that you can watch it at a later time, but it's not coming through for me. So I apologize for that, and eventually I will have to figure that out. So, but like I said, welcome back to Tuesday Night Torah Studies. I'm so glad that you are here with me on today because we are learning. We are continually learning more about these 10 commandments, these 10 words, these 10 words, these 10 commandments that was given from Yehovah, straight from heaven himself, coming down to Mount Sinai, way back in chapter 20 when we covered it. He was speaking the 10 commandments, the words, and he had to pause because the people could not hear anymore. Their heart wasn't ready to receive everything that he wanted to share with them. So he had to pause there, and those details about the following 10, how to follow them, to understand them, was given now to Moses. Moses to write down and to give to the people to learn Jehovah's instructions, to learn his teachings that he was trying to teach them in Exodus chapter 20. Now, today, we're going to continue to learn more about what it means to do not steal. We're going to learn more what it means to show the responsibility of loving your neighbor, taking on those responsibilities that we're supposed to take on. So remember, the 10 commandments that were given, everything that we're learning from there is a continuance, an expansion of those 10. And so this is one way that you will learn on how to follow them. Because if you say do not steal, what does that mean? There's so many different combinations of how someone can steal. So Yehovah goes more into that. Welcome to Reconcile the Kingdom of Working Towards Growing a Harmony of the Whole Word of Truth. My name is Patrice Robinson, and I am thankful again for all of you who is available to me right now, live, watching on this journey. And of course, those who will join the journey through the replay. Everyone most definitely is greatly appreciated. I want to take the time out to thank all return subscribers. Again, I have to take the time out each time because it is because of you I continue this journey. It's because not only because you, I should say, you are encouragement for me to continue on because I have to continue this journey whether you watch it or not because I'm called to do the work of the kingdom. But it's because of you that it will continue to expand because you're doing your part of the ministry by sharing the link, making comments, giving a thumbs up. So you helping the ministry grow. And you are most definitely making it known that you are wanting to learn and you are joining the journey on learning the doctrine of Yehovah, the word, the Bible, and not of man. New subscribers, welcome to the family. Again, thank you for your support. Jump on board for the things that the returning subscribers are doing. I will greatly appreciate it. And thank you for allowing me to be before you. Again, this is a journey that we all have to take. We all need to take this journey because what? Because we are in transition to becoming the bride of the bridegroom. So we have to learn what it means that we should not have any spots or anything. He's coming for the bride. And I want to take the time out to thank all visitors for stopping by on today. Even if you are stopping by doing the replay, thank you for coming by. But I'm hoping that you're ready to join this family. This family that does not mind searching the scriptures, does not mind challenging the religious systems that we have been under for hundreds of years, and that you're ready to become a lifetime student of the Bible. Many of us have not went verse by verse, studied in the community to learn and how to put the whole word together. And this is what I am offering here on this channel. Now, we also wanted you to join this family and that you will be ready to explore the Hebrew roots of your Christian faith, making those corrections and errors that we have learned because the Gentiles have inherited lots of lies. And so those lies and those perceptions have been developed over hundreds of years, have prevented us from seeing the word as it is, but seeing the word through those rose-colored glasses that prevent us from seeing it as it is written and only through the denominational lenses. These are the things that we are trying to come away from. So it is really easy to join this family. All you have to do is hit that subscribe button below. Don't forget the bell. And because the bell is most definitely important, because it lets you know that I am live and also let you know of any announcement that's come from this ministry. And that is not the only way that you can help and support this ministry. Follow me on Facebook. Follow me on Instagram, Pinterest, Spotify, and of course, YouTube podcasts, because they have their own podcast for those who subscribe to that subscription. Now, we also have the Arcade Biblical Studio and Etsy, and that is the whole purpose of purchasing any of the workbooks that I use on this channel, any worksheets, because you have the workbooks. You can buy the entire workbook or you can buy the sheets. So it's kind of up to you according to your funds, according to what you need on your journey. It's very important to write down what you're learning, because remember, we are in Exodus today. And once we finish Exodus, you personally want to go over Exodus again and be able to see the difference of what you're learning. Now, I personally am going to continue to keep the workbooks, and I'm going to pass it on to my children and my grandchildren. So those are some of the reasons why I'm keeping my workbooks, and also keep me organized in my studies. And so this is why I'm sharing it with you, so you have opportunity. So I actually just uploaded the Book of Proverbs workbook last night. So again, these are all the ways that you can support the ministry. Also, with the Cash App in the description box, you can take a look at all of this information and you can choose, pray about how you want to support the ministry. All that is available to you once again in that description box. Now, don't forget, at the end of today's teaching, you have opportunity to ask questions. Now, you can send those questions as we are through the teaching. I just want to address those until the end because I want to give everyone an opportunity to ask questions. I encourage to ask questions. I encourage you to make comments, whether you agree or disagree. Just make it respectful. I encourage you to share your thoughts of what you're learning and what you want to learn more about. All those type of things is important because we are a family, we are a community, and we need to learn from one another. Not one person knows all the answers. So make sure you have your Bible before you, all your writing utensils that you need. If you purchased the workbook of Exodus, thank you. And hope you have that before you, or the worksheet, or a piece of paper. You need to take notes so that you can test what I'm sharing with you. So what we usually do is go over the previous teaching. So we're going over Exodus chapter 21. I'm going to share my sheet with you. This is what you see. So we spent 2 weeks with Exodus chapter 21, which I didn't put the full date on there, which I would change for my workbook so I can have it. But we spent 2 weeks. So the first week we went over verses 1 through 11, and it was really about being a Hebrew servant, understanding what slavery meant. It is not the same slavery mindset or the way we treat slaves according to what America, North America, and other places have treated their slaves. This is with respect. And most of the time, it is because someone is in debt and they're trying to pay the debt off. So they serve for 6 years, and the seventh year they're free. Now, there are some Hebrew servants who decided their master had treated them so well. He gave them a wife and they had children, and he wants to remain with his master, and that will make him a bond servant. Hear and obey what his master said. Now, we went over this a few weeks ago to understand when we talk about hermeneutics, maybe the first mention, this example, I should say, we see with Abraham, Eleazar, his servant. Abraham was even willing to give Eleazar his inheritance because he didn't have a child at that moment. So he's asking the father for a child. So we seen that example. And then we finished on with Exodus chapter 21, and it continued the expansion of the 10 commandments, the 10 words. In there, we found information on do not murder. So they talked about murder and manslaughter. They talked about honoring your parents. It talked about you should not steal. And then it talked about your personal responsibility to your neighbor, paying compensation for personal injuries towards a person or an animal. So all that we covered in Exodus 21. Now, in my insight, all these commandments Jehovah is teaching, instructing the people is how to live in his kingdom. At this point, he's trying to build the kingdom of heaven because it has not changed. Well, I'll take that back. He's building the kingdom of the nation of Israel, but he is making them all priests. It has not changed yet to where the Levites will only be priests, and then we will get to that point. Okay? Now, again, he's providing these instructions to the judges on how to judge righteously. This is righteous judgment for the judges. If you can remember, way back in Exodus 18, Jethro gave this information, some insight, some counsel to Moses on bringing judges in because Moses would most definitely work himself, and of course the people would be exhausted. So Jethro said, you elect the able men who fear Elohim. That means they have that respect for Elohim. They won't take a bribe. They are men of truth and those who hate dishonest gain. So these were the restrictions of identifying judges. And this is most definitely the time that the judges were supposed to judge according to this information that we're going over in 2020 and Exodus 21 and what we be going over in 22. So there's my cross reference. The word study I had was judgment, and there's no questions. I again will leave this sheet up for a moment. I need to make a note to myself. And we will remove that and at a moment, but I want to give everyone an opportunity to ask questions about anything that's presented in this sheet, any additional information that you would like to share according to what was spoken on today. So once again, we are moving forward to Exodus chapter 22. And I want to keep you in mind that we're going through verses 1 through 15. The reason why we're going through verses 1 through 15 is because this is expanding on continually. What did I say earlier? You should not steal. Remember the 10 commandments. You should not steal, like number 8. So it's expanding on these things of what happened if these things should happen. So verse number 1. If someone steals an ox or a sheep and slaughter it or sells it, he should pay 5 oxen for the ox, 4 sheep for the sheep. If the thief is caught while breaking in and is struck so that he dies, there'll be no guilt or bloodshed on his account. So that this is meaning for the person that's in the home. There will be no account. A thief shall certainly make restitution. If he owns nothing, then he shall be sold for his theft. If what he stole is actually found alive in his possession, whether an ox or a donkey or a sheep, he shall pay double. So again, this is expanding on do not steal. You are stealing and you're preventing a person from making their living. Because remember, the ox, you know, those are the things that they use for their land, to work on the land. And so today you may not have an ox, you might not even have a sheep, but you have a car, which is what we use today to earn our money, because it's how we get around to our place of employment or our business that we own. So those that is important to us. Now there are some people who still work on the land and they do have ox, they do have oxen, they do have expensive farming things. So this is the way you make your living, and someone steals it. So just like a car, a work van, a truck, an oxen, all these things are important for a person to make a living. Now, say that you have this house, this condo, this apartment, or anything, and a thief breaks in during the night. And if you strike them and they die, you would not be guilty of the bloodshed because it's nighttime. And so, then they didn't have any lights, in their homes. The lights would be candles. So it's something that would be just pitch black. Now, although all this is going on, now the sun is up. You can see the thief. And if you strike the thief, then you could be found guilty of bloodshed because you see the person. You be able to do what, stop the person. Now, if the thief lives and he's caught, he has to pay restitution for what he did. Now, if he has nothing in order to pay the restitution, he can be sold into slavery, servitude to pay that debt. Now, we're talking about our brethrens. Again, the debt is what 6 years and 7 years he's free. Now, even if the items are found, whether it's an animal or the atoms of animal or items are found, the person, the animal's found alive, pays double the value because he was stealing. And we know we are not supposed to steal. He stole from his neighbor, so he has to pay double the value of what he did. So again, all of this is about expanding on you should not steal and your personal responsibility to your neighbor. Verse 5, if someone lets a field or a vineyard be grazed bare, lets his animal loose so that he can gaze on another person's field, he shall make restitution for the best of his own field and the best of his own vineyard. Now, listen, if you let your animal out and gaze on someone else's field, but not on your own property, how selfish is that? How greedy is that? How irresponsible that is? You have to pay. You're gonna have to pay restitution from off your land and pay restitution to the person's land that you let your animal graze off of. See, these are ways that you remember Yeshua said, "Love your neighbor, love yourself as you love yourself." Who does this if you love yourself? Who will let somebody take advantage of someone? That's basically that's what's going on. Verse 6. If a fire breaks out, spreads to thorn bushes, and strikes and a stack of grain, or the standing grain, or the field itself is consumed, the one who started the fire must make restitution. So if you let your grain out, let it all dry up, all the bushes and all that stuff, not trimming all those things, it's all unkept. This is how some of the wild fires begins, unkept land. And a fire break out, because that happens a lot in the summer. Um, you where the fire started because you didn't keep your land or your field, you just let it happen because you was not being responsible. You're now responsible for the damage that happened to everyone else's land. You have to pay restitution. So the father is very particular on responsibility, taking care of things you're supposed to take care of. Verse 7. If someone gives your neighbor, now pay attention to this because I think we have seen this plenty of times before. If someone gives his neighbor money or goods to keep for him and is stolen from the neighbor's house, if the thief is caught, then the thief shall pay double. If the thief is not caught, then the owner of the house shall appear before the judges to determine whether he laid his hands on his neighbor's property. For every breach of trust, whether it is for ox, for donkey, for sheep, or clothing, for any lost thing about which one says that it is, the case of both parties shall come before the judges. He whom the judges condemn shall pay double to his neighbor. So, holding items, goods, money at your house for someone else, and the thief steals it and is caught, that thief will be responsible for paying restitution. He'll be paying double. Now, if the thief is not caught, then you are in the spotlight to determine whether you, as the homeowner yourself, had dipped in and stole from your neighbor who you're supposed to be keeping for. Keep it in mind, these are the judgments and responsibility of the judges. We are talking about the judges. Remember, some judges over 10, over 20, over 50, over 100, and more. So the judge is going to determine who broke the trust, and the guilty parties will pay double. So that's the response. These are responsibilities of the judges. 10. If someone gives his neighbor a donkey, and an ox, a sheep, or an animal, or a car, or your pet, or whatever you give them to keep for him, and if it dies, why it's in your hands, why you have it, or is it injured or driven away, someone stole it, is took off while no one is looking, an oath before Yehovah should be taken by the two of them, the owner of the animal, the donkey, the sheep, the pet, the car, whatever, and the one that was giving the animal, the pet, the car, the sheep, or whatever. So they're going to make an oath, and that two of them that has had laid a hand on his neighbor's property, saying that he did not lay hands on his neighbor's property, and its owner shall accept it, and he should not be compelled to make restitution, because we don't know what happened. But if it's actually stolen from him, he shall make restitution to his owner. If it is all torn in pieces, have him bring it as evidence, and he should not be compelled to make restitution for what has been torn to pieces. So we have two types of cases going on. When it comes to, people, again, there's people who have pets who does this. Yeah, they go on vacation, they run personal errands, and they allow people to watch them, and they leave their pet and their animal with this person that they trust. And this pet, this animal, this car, whatever, got stolen or injured or, died, and there's no witnesses on what happened. We have no idea this happened while we was asleep or while we was at the store, whatever. We have no idea what happened. They have to make an oath together and make an agreement, and then that neighbor who was having these items for the owner, nothing happens. They both accept that this happened. It was an accident. No one knows. They just move on. Forgiveness, because they don't know what happened. However, if the animal or pet or your car or what you let them hold on to while you was run on errands or on vacation got stolen, then that person who was holding that makes restitution to the owner. They know it was stolen. Now, if the pet and the animal, like the corpse, was found, or the car was found and all torn apart because they're, selling the parts to it, occurred. Now, for the animal, you don't pay restitution. Needs You don't need to pay restitution. Now, when it comes to vehicles, most of us should, I know here in the Midwest, in Missouri, we require to have insurance. So your insurance will probably cover that. Maybe that you and the owner can talk about paying the deductible, whatever that needs to happen. And this is the purpose of the judges. Verse 14. And if someone borrows an animal from his neighbor or a car or whatever you're borrowing, and it become injured, or the person dies, the animal dies, or the pet dies while its owner is not with you, he should make full restitution. So this is like you dropping off your animal and the owner is not there and the animal dies, the pet dies, you pay full restitution. Now, if the owner is with you, the one who's borrowing it, you know, shall not be compelled to make restitution, for it is hired. It came by is hired. So it's important to understand what this meaning. So verse 10 to 13 is different because the neighbor is keeping the animal and pet. And in this passage, verses 14 and 15, you're borrowing from your neighbor. Now, you may have borrowed an oxen because you need some work done on your land and your oxen is not enough. So basically, you are renting this animal for whatever need. I know that some people rent other people's pets. So those type of things still happen today. So this passage is all about borrowing. So if you borrow and the borrow is with you, you don't need to pay the full. You don't need to pay the full restitution if they're with you. But if the owner is not with you, you need to pay um, the restitution for what needs to be done. Now, get this. If you're borrowing by renting, like I'm paying them to borrow their car, and something happens, that rental fee should cover the loss. So just like I say, imagine you borrowing someone's car and you driving it and the owner's with you. Y'all both in the vehicle and something happens. The owner most likely see what's going on, and who becomes responsible. Now, what if you borrowing that car, you done paid, you done rent it, and the person's not with you? Who will become responsible for that? So these are the things that you will have to bring to the judge, and they will judge righteously on determine what restitution has to be paid and how much needs to be paid. So it was important on how a kingdom should function with Yehovah being the king. So being the king, remember Jehovah's the king over them. It doesn't come until we get to First Samuel when the people start asking for a human king. And we will get to First Samuel. Right now, Jehovah's the king, and he's laying down the instructions on you in his land, in his kingdom. This is how you're going to run the nation of Israel as me being the king. And eventually we will go into more instructions when there's a human king, how the king is supposed to rule. So I don't see any questions or comments on right now. And I'm hoping that you learned something today. So do not leave here without hitting that subscribe button. Do not leave here without giving me a thumbs. Believe me, it's all appreciated, and I am thankful for all of you who joins me live, who joins me on the replay. Now, join me Saturday because we're on episode number 11 for the book of Acts. It's amazing to me how the book of Acts and the book of Exodus has been connecting. If you pay attention to both of them, on how they connect. And we know Exodus most definitely connects to the book of Revelation. We kind of went over that too. But join me again on Saturday at 10 o'clock a.m. for the book of Acts. And next Tuesday, we will continue with chapter 22. So once again, I really appreciate it for every last one of you on tonight. As always, man does not live by bread alone, but every word that proceeds out of the mouth of Yehovah. And we know that that most definitely is the Torah. May you have a blessed rest of the week, and I will see you on Saturday morning at 10 o'clock a.m. Thank you.